Something dark is hiding behind today's financial headlines, and it's growing faster than most Americans realize. This isn't just about inflation ticking up. It isn't just interest rates climbing. It isn't even about political tension or market volatility. What's forming right now is bigger, far bigger than any recession you've lived through. For the first time since the 1930s, respected economists, major institutions, and policy analysts are warning that the U.S. may be edging toward a new Great Depression, not a temporary downturn, not a bad quarter or a slow year, but a systemic breakdown so deep that millions of Americans could slip into living conditions we normally associate with struggling nations, not the world's richest economy. Look around. Entire industries are running on fumes. Consumer savings have evaporated, debt is suffocating households, and global instability is hitting America at its core. The warning signs aren't scattered anymore. They're lining up like dominoes. In 2025, the same forces that once pushed America into the darkest chapter of its economic history, collapsing confidence, shrinking credit, political division, global shocks, and massive debt, are all showing up again. And this time, the safety nets Americans rely on are thin, overstretched, and already failing millions. Today, we're breaking down what could go wrong, why so many experts are sounding the alarm, and what a modern Great Depression 2.0 would actually look like for ordinary American families. So, stay with me, because what you're about to hear may be the most important economic warning of 2025. Section 1. The warning signs are everywhere. When analysts warn of a Depression 2.0, they aren't being dramatic. They're recognizing a pattern that has only appeared in moments of profound crisis. The troubling part isn't one isolated issue. It's that every major sector of the economy is flashing red at the same time. Across universities, economic think tanks, and government forecasts, the verdict is similar. The U.S. isn't just exposed to a recession, it's exposed to structural instability. In other words, the foundation itself is cracking. Start with debt. Government debt is at historic highs, and interest payments alone are consuming a massive share of federal revenue. Corporations borrowed heavily during the low-interest years, and now they're struggling to refinance at rates they never planned for. And households, they're drowning in mortgages, credit card debt, auto loans, and medical bills. Many Americans no longer have savings to fall back on. For millions, one missed paycheck would trigger a financial disaster. Then there's the money supply. Liquidity is drying up, and economic activity slows dramatically when there isn't enough cash and credit circulating. Businesses stop taking risks, banks tighten lending, consumers stop spending. All these small freezes eventually merge into one giant freeze, the hallmark of a depression. Trade tensions and tariffs are amplifying the pressure. When the cost of importing raw materials rises, companies cut jobs, delay expansion, or pass those costs on to consumers. The result? A slow, steady suffocation of growth. Manufacturing weakens, logistics slows, and corporate hiring freezes become the new normal. Global institutions are warning that investment is pulling back across multiple continents. The confidence that once made America the default destination for global capital is fading as countries diversify away from U.S. markets and the dollar's dominance faces new competitors. This weakening of America's global financial leadership is something the U.S. hasn't experienced in nearly a century. Geopolitical tensions further complicate everything. Wars, shifting alliances, and international supply chain fragmentation put additional stress on U.S. businesses and consumers. Even sectors once considered secure, technology, energy, food production, are now facing unpredictable disruptions. This cocktail of risks, historic debt, shrinking liquidity, global uncertainty, trade shocks, and weakening investor confidence, is exactly the mixture that historically precedes deep, long-lasting depressions. It's not one crack in the foundation, it's hundreds. And economic history is clear. When too many critical systems weaken at once, recovery becomes slow, painful, and for millions, incomplete. Section 2. What third world conditions could look like in America. When analysts warn that millions of Americans could soon slip into third world conditions, they're not exaggerating for headlines. They're describing a real, lived scenario where the systems people rely on for jobs, housing, credit, healthcare, and public services begin breaking down simultaneously. The first shock hits the labor market. When businesses lose confidence, they don't just reduce hiring, they eliminate departments, postpone projects, and shut entire locations. Workers in retail, hospitality, transportation, and food service are always hit first, but this time the danger extends far deeper. Suddenly, people with strong resumes find themselves competing for any job that can pay the bills. As incomes drop, the next blow lands on local governments. State and county budgets rely on sales taxes, income taxes, property taxes, and business revenue. When those collapse, city halls start cutting whatever they can. Libraries operate on limited days. Trash pickup slows. Road maintenance stops. After-school programs disappear. Even emergency response times stretch longer because departments lose staffing. You don't need a total economic crash to feel this. You only need a few months of shrinking revenue. The decline in public services hits working families hardest, especially in cities that were already struggling. Then comes the tightening of credit. During normal recessions, people turn to banks and lenders to stay afloat, refinancing mortgages, extending credit limits, taking small business loans, borrowing for repairs or emergencies. But in a depression-like environment, banks slam the brakes. They become cautious, approval rates drop, requirements rise. Suddenly, Americans who always paid their bills on time are told they don't qualify anymore. Without access to affordable loans, a broken transmission, an unexpected medical bill, or even a missed paycheck can lead to eviction, foreclosure, or bankruptcy. And here's the harshest truth. Even as incomes fall, the cost of living doesn't magically drop. Inflation may slow, but high prices remain baked into the system. Groceries stay expensive, rent remains high, utilities jump seasonally. And because tariffs and global supply chain problems are still applying, imported items from electronics to car parts to clothing stay costly. This means the basics become unaffordable, just as economic stability disappears. When people fall out of the healthcare system, conditions worsen quickly. Millions of Americans already skip treatment because of cost. A deeper downturn magnifies this. Chronic conditions go untreated, prescriptions become unaffordable, preventive care disappears. This doesn't just create personal suffering, it strains hospitals, emergency rooms, and clinics, pushing them into crisis mode. A vicious cycle forms. Less money for healthcare means worse health outcomes, which then raises long-term costs even further. And as economic pressure builds, social tension begins to rise. Neighborhoods with shrinking job prospects experience more stress, more conflict, and in many cases, more crime. Calls for police and emergency services increase just as departments lose funding. The erosion of public trust in government, in financial institutions, in the job market, even in each other, becomes sharper. People become frustrated, fearful, and at times resentful of anyone who seems to be doing even slightly better. Section 3. Why this could be worse than a normal recession. Most recessions come and go. They're painful, they're inconvenient, and they disrupt lives. But they follow a familiar pattern. The economy cools, central banks intervene, businesses recover, and growth eventually resumes. But what's forming in 2025 isn't following that script, and that's the most worrying part. A normal recession is triggered by a temporary shock. A depression, however, is driven by deep structural weaknesses, the kinds that don't fade with slight policy adjustments or stimulus checks. And right now, the US is facing multiple structural weaknesses at the same time. One of the biggest pressures comes from the fragmentation of global trade. For decades, American companies relied on predictable global supply chains, stable trade relationships, and relatively low costs for essential goods. But the world has changed. Trade blocs are shifting, countries are building their own manufacturing systems, long-standing partnerships are fraying. The US is no longer the uncontested center of global commerce. It's now one competing player in a divided economic landscape. That means higher costs for businesses, longer delays for supplies, and less stability in the industries that once supported millions of jobs. Meanwhile, debt across American society has reached levels that were once considered unthinkable. The government is carrying trillions in obligations, with interest payments alone consuming a growing share of federal revenue. Corporations, especially those that expanded aggressively during years of low interest rates, now face refinancing at far higher rates, forcing them to cut payrolls, reduce investment, or sell off assets just to survive. And for households, debt is not just a number on a chart. It's the weight of mortgages, auto loans, medical bills, and credit card balances that have ballooned while wages stayed flat. When millions of families are already one emergency away from crisis, a recession doesn't simply slow them down, it breaks them. There's also the growing risk of capital flight. If global investors begin to view the United States as unstable economically, politically, or socially, money can start flowing out. This raises borrowing costs, shakes financial markets, and starves businesses of the investment they need. It's the kind of shift that can change the trajectory of an entire economy for years. And perhaps the most unpredictable variable is political instability. Economic strategy in the US now swings dramatically depending on leadership. Businesses that once planned 5 to 10 years ahead now hesitate to plan beyond 6 months. Tax policies shift, trade rules change, interest rate expectations swing, and long-term federal projects stall. When companies lose the ability to predict the future, they do the only thing they can: pull back. They freeze hiring, freeze investment, and freeze growth. Combine all these forces of global fragmentation, massive debt, investor uncertainty, and policy volatility, and you have the blueprint not for a recession, but for a potential depression. Not because America is weak, but because the system is under pressure from every direction at once. The danger is real, the vulnerabilities are real, and the consequences, if ignored, could redefine what everyday American life looks like for an entire generation. The possibility of a Great Depression 2.0 isn't just a dramatic headline. It's a warning sign from economists, analysts, and institutions who see the storm forming long before the public does. If even half of these risks materialize, millions of Americans could see their quality of life fall in ways they never imagined. Food insecurity could rise, housing could become unaffordable, public services could crumble, entire communities could face downward spirals that take decades to reverse. But awareness is the first line of defense. If this breakdown of the risks helped you understand the scale of what may be coming, hit like, subscribe, and share this video. In the comments, tell me, what part of the economy worries you the most? Debt, jobs, housing, prices, or political instability? Your voice matters. Your awareness matters, and the more people understand what's coming, the better prepared America can be as a country and as a community. Stay alert, stay informed, and stay ready, because the next chapter of the American economy may be written sooner than anyone expected.